Okay. This isn't a video about language learning. I mean, technically it is, but for me, it's much more about learning how to be consistent again with my language learning. I have made the exact same video or variations of the exact same video multiple times over the course of the past year, and yet I never follow through with my commitment to study for whatever length of time that I say that I'm going to study for. And you know what? I'm tired of disappointing myself. I'm tired of not being consistent. I'm tired of breaking my own promises, right? When I set a goal or I tell myself I'm going to study whatever language in 2 weeks or 30 days consistently and I don't do it, I'm just breaking promises that I've made to my past self. And I'm tired of being that person. This video is for anyone else who is struggling to be consistent with anything, language learning or otherwise. And most of all, it's for me, for me to prove to myself again that I can do something that I set my mind to. And that is something that I've not done in a long time. And so that's why my bar for language learning is going to be very low. Every day, I'm just going to expect myself to do between 15 and 30 minutes. And I know that once I get started on it, I'm probably going to keep going. But yeah, all I want to do now is to build a habit, and I don't want to judge myself for studying too little because studying every day in itself is already a challenge for me at this point. So I just want to take things slow. I really hope that someone sees this video and it just doesn't end up in the trash like all the other videos that I've done in the past. But I'll check in with you guys soon, hopefully. I initially started out with the intention of dedicating most of my time, so maybe like 80% of my time, to studying Japanese, because I'm way worse at Japanese than Spanish. So I really wanted to focus on building a foundation in Japanese. I did my best to work on a little bit of everything. So I went through my past grammar notes. I tried to practice my Japanese verb conjugation using this website. By the way, I'll put all the resources that I've used in the description below in case you're also studying Japanese or Spanish and you would like some resources to refer to. But yes, I also went for a lot of italki classes where I learned new grammar, and I put those new grammar words into my flashcard app so that I could practice them daily. I think I ended the first week pretty strong. I studied at least 1.5 hours every single day, and I didn't even track all of what I studied. So I'm pretty sure I spent more than 12 hours on my languages this first week. However, by the end of that week, I realized that it just wasn't sustainable for me to study that amount. I know for some people, studying 1.5 hours a day is a walk in the park is extremely easy. But for me, I found it a little bit too much and a bit too overwhelming. I have this tendency to really push myself and then burn out. So for the rest of the month, I really tried to dial it back to make sure that the studying continued to be both enjoyable and something that I could stick to in the long run. The second thing I realized after just 1 week of studying is that I find it so tough to study 2 languages at a time. I know people say that it's possible to do it, and that as long as you try your best to study different languages that are not from the same family so that you don't get it mixed up, it should be fine. But I tried to do that with Spanish and Japanese and it just didn't work for me. I think for me, when I study a new language, it's really important for me to be completely immersed in the language. When I'm not studying it, I want to be watching content in that language, and so it was very hard for me to decide whether to spend my time listening to Japanese or listening to Spanish. And when I did one, I always felt guilty about not doing the other. So I just ended up deciding that I would put aside my Japanese for the meantime and really focus on getting past the intermediate plateau with my Spanish. So the next week, I put aside my Japanese materials and I focused on Spanish. So this is when I really Went all out on taking italki classes. I usually shop around quite a bit for italki teachers, and trust me when I say that I've tried many, but I managed to find a teacher who I really click with, and his name is Mauricio. He's from Mexico City, and I'm just going to take this moment to quickly give him a shout out because he's not just a great teacher, but also just a really nice person who's extremely hardworking. I don't just consider him my teacher, but also my friend. We are the same age, and so we always have a lot to talk about in class. And I really do wish him all the success in the world. So if you're studying Spanish and are looking for a great conversation teacher, someone to support you in learning how to speak more in a natural way, I will leave his link in the description below. Definitely do check him out and see if you would like to support him as well. Having conversations has always been my favorite part of learning a language, so I would say my italki classes probably my favorite part of this entire month. That said, to be honest, as much as I enjoyed my Spanish classes, they sometimes also left me feeling discouraged in the first few weeks of getting back into Spanish.
Recently, I've been feeling very frustrated by my Spanish, strangely. I think I wanted this month to be focused on my Japanese, but I've kind of ended up working a lot on my Spanish. And I get emotional a lot during I'm getting emotional. The more I work on it, the more I feel like there's so much I don't know. It's so funny because I mean, at the end of the day, I'm quite a perfectionist, and I know that learning languages takes a long time and it's a lifelong journey. But I think a part of me just feels annoyed that progress sometimes feels so slow. Oh my god, it's so cringy that I'm crying on camera. That's why I never do this. But I still wanted to film this. Maybe I won't put it in a video, but I just wanted to make this for all of you guys who are studying a language or working towards a skill or doing anything that requires a lot of consistent time and effort, and you're not progressing as fast as you like. This video is to remind you that you are good enough, that you can do it, that it will just take a lot of patience with yourself. Sorry, I'm kind of quiet that like once I start, I can't stop.
I've always been this sort of person. I'm not sure where it came from, but I always feel frustrated when I don't do well at something. In my process of learning Spanish over the past 2 years, I've cried in more classes and in front of more teachers than I can remember. To be honest, I'm not really sure where this need for excellence comes from, and no matter how good I get at anything, I still do occasionally struggle with these thoughts that I could be better. But in the weeks that followed, whenever I felt myself getting frustrated or upset, I tried to remember why I even wanted to learn Spanish in the first place. At the end of the day, all I want is simple. It's just to connect with more people, places, and perspectives that I might have otherwise been unable to reach. And when I think about all the places that I've been, the memories I've made, and the connections I've had already related to Spanish, I think I've achieved a lot in my 2 years studying the language. So for the rest of the month, I turned my focus away from being perfect and more towards being open and curious. I did pretty much the same things I probably would have done anyway, but my mindset was a bit different. I tried to see learning Spanish as less of another goal to conquer, and rather as an endless journey. So I stopped tracking my study time so strictly. I started learning more slang words for the fun of it.
A huevo!
I tried reading more, which I am really bad at, but I always feel extra accomplished when I can understand. In short, I just stopped giving a shit and I just tried to focus on having fun. And just like that, week 3 and 4 was over. Hola a todos, bueno, quería terminar este video hablando un poco de español. Estoy muy emocionada y me alegro mucho de que finalmente pueda decirles que sí cumplí mi meta. Estudiaba español por un mes y todavía ya es el 5 de mayo, o no, el 6 de mayo y todavía estoy en contacto con el idioma todos los días. Tal vez en algunos aspectos no cumplí mi meta original, que fue estudiar español y el japonés, los dos. Pero creo que no hay nada mal cambiando y adaptando tu plan de estudio si te sirve y si te ayuda a mantener tu motivación y tus ganas de aprender. Pues atrás de este proceso he aprendido muchas cosas de mí misma, principalmente soy una perfeccionista, creo que eso es bastante claro. Y se me hace interesante porque pensara que ya había superado este aspecto de mi personalidad. No me gustaría ser este tipo de persona porque creo que es la inhabilidad de fallar y de admitir que no sabes cosas es una barrera en el proceso del aprendizaje, ¿no? No solo por los idiomas, sino también por cualquier cosa que estás aprendiendo. Ya sabes, siempre dicen no te compares de los demás, recuerda el camino que ya has recorrido y todo eso. Y obviamente estoy totalmente de acuerdo con esas palabras, pero creo que es una cosa a entender y a estar de acuerdo, es otra cosa realmente integrarlas en tu vida real y en tu forma de pensar. Y es algo en que todavía necesito trabajar más, creo. Imagínate si ya me siento esto y si ya no me gusta ser una principiante en algo. Con el español, que creo que ya es en un nivel bastante intermedio, por lo menos puedo comunicarme. ¿Cómo voy a aprender nuevos idiomas como el japonés? Pero bueno, estoy muy agradecida que decidiera hacer esto por mí misma. ¡No! Creo que a través de este proceso también he enamorado del español y específicamente de México, no sé, la cultura mexicana otra vez. Tengo muchas ganas de continuar a estudiar, de inmersarme. ¿Es una palabra? Voy a dejar de grabar por el ruido, pero gracias por ver mi video y nos vemos en la próxima. Chao.